My name is Gina Midico. With MnDOT. I'm the chair of the committee. I will now call the meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. So pausing here to see if anyone has any suggested modifications or changes. Okay, going once. Going twice. Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the February 12th, 2026 TAC planning minutes. I actually had to miss this meeting due to a conflicting training that I couldn't reschedule. So I think my understanding is Charlie stepped in for me as chair. We don't technically have a vice chair for TAC planning. So thanks, Charlie. Appreciate you stepping up to do that. Does anybody have any changes or edits to the minutes before we call for a motion to approve? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Howley.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. We have a motion. How about a second?
Kevin Roggenbuck, Ramsey County, seconds the motion.
All right, thank you, Kevin. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask Jed to call the roll.
Jorge Bernal, Anoka County. Mark Culver, Brooklyn Park. Drew Flaumer, Carver County.
This is Justin Brofman filling in for Drew today.
And your vote?
Aye.
Charlie Howley, Chanhassen.
Aye.
Scott Peters, Dakota County.
Abstain.
Dan Patterson, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Bridget Reef, Mac. Patrick Boylan, Community Development. David Burns, MTS.
Aye.
Patrick Haney, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Bria Fast, City of Minneapolis. Gina Midico, MnDOT.
I'll abstain.
Lauren Dickerson, MPCA.
Aye.
Kevin Roggenbuck, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Anton Jervy, City of St. Paul.
Aye.
Craig Jensen, Scott County.
Aye.
Sunita Kasishwa, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Elaine Katsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Sarah Allen, Washington County.
Aye.
And Chris Hartzell, Woodbury. Chair, there were 12 ayes, no noes, and 2 abstentions.
All right, thank you, Jed. The next item on the agenda is public comment on committee business. We do have a couple of action items today, as well as a few information items. Is there anyone online that would wish to make a comment on committee business? Jed, did anyone register?
No, there were no members of the public who registered before the meeting.
Okay. With that, we will move along to the next item on the agenda, into our first business item, which is 2026-22, approving the RBTN Regional Bicycle Transportation Network and RBB Regional Bicycle Barrier changes for the 2026 regional solicitation. We have a background paper. I don't believe we have a presentation. Is that correct?
Hang on. Yeah, can you hear me? This is Steve Elmer. Yeah, we were going to run through this real quickly.
Okay, yeah, sure. If you want to walk through the background paper, I'll turn it over to you then.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. So for just a little bit on background, and we kind of have two processes here. The first for the RBTN and regional bicycle barrier changes and additions, that is the results from a major 2025 update process. So I'm going to talk about that first. Met Council provided an opportunity beginning late last spring for local agencies to propose changes or additions to the regional bicycle transportation network or regional bicycle barriers. The proposed changes were evaluated against established criteria and measures, and that went through our TAC tab process. So technical committees and the tab reviewed all those changes, and those were recommended for release for the public comment within the draft 2026 regional solicitation application packet. So those maps are included, and that public comment period was held in January and February, and a virtual public meeting was held on February 10th. And the full details of that 2025 update process and criteria for accepting or not accepting, those are documented in the tab action transmittal from the November 19 tab meeting and the previous committee meetings leading up to that. The second more minor process, more recent process, is for RBTN alignment designations, and the draft 2026 regional solicitation regional bicycle facilities application included proposed scoring guidance that would give RBTN alignments 5 more points than RBTN corridors. And since applicants were not aware, or it wasn't even a possibility at the time of the 2025 update process, we gave a brief opportunity for locals to propose alignment designations within our existing RBTN corridors. So the results of that I'll report in a moment. This relates to regional policy in that updating the RBTN and regional bicycle barriers supports our Imagine 2050 goal that our region become dynamic and resilient. It advances a transportation objective for that goal, that people have better travel options beyond driving alone to meet their daily needs. And it supports 3 TPP actions that call for regularly updating these tools, such as the RBTN and regional bike barriers, and using them to prioritize regional investments. And then for staff analysis, mentioned the comment period for the RBTN and regional bike barrier changes. We did receive only a few comments, requests relating to the RBTN. We had a few requests to add specific RBTN corridors, most of which had already been included either previously or within the last updates on the RBTN. We also received a few suggestions for scoring criteria for the regional solicitation. No comments were received regarding the regional bike barriers, and no changes to the RBTN or related scoring are proposed in response to the public comments received. And then for the more recent process to designate alignment designations, we had a brief period in January for local agencies to designate RBTN alignments within existing corridors. And we received 6 alignment designation requests from 3 local agencies. The potential designations were reviewed against the criteria that were published as part of the public notice of the opportunity and are also included in the action transmittal. 5 of the 6 alignment designation requests met all of the criteria and will be processed as administrative adjustments for inclusion in the RBTN. And 1 proposed alignment designation did not meet all criteria and is not accepted at this time. So we have the final proposed RBTN map that includes all of the 2025 updated changes and additions, as well as these more recent RBTN alignments shown in the attached figure 1, and the final regional bicycle barriers map that includes the changes highlighted in figure 2. So with that, I'll stand for any questions from the group.
Thanks, Steve. Do any committee members have any questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Steve, maybe I just have a question. I'm just curious about the one that didn't meet the 3 criteria. What criteria wasn't met, and has the applicant sort of accepted that decision?
Yes, the applicant was informed, and there were a couple of the criteria. Not an adopted plan, and the other was the wasn't fully within the RETN corridor. It diverted from the corridor by about a half mile for a portion of it.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful background. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Would anyone care to make a motion? Quiet group today.
Madam Chair, this is Kevin from Ramsey County. I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the updated regional bike transportation network and regional bicycle barriers maps with changes, additions, and administrative adjustments for use in the 2026 regional solicitation.
Great, thanks, Kevin, and thanks for reading it so I don't have to.
You're welcome.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Oh, who is the
Howley.
first second?
Craig Jensen.
Craig Jensen. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I thought I heard you first, Craig, so we'll go with you for the second. Okay, any additional discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, I will have ask Jed to please take the roll.
Jorge Bernal, Anoka County. Mark Culver, Brooklyn Park. Justin Broman, Carver County.
Aye.
Charlie Howley, Chanhassen.
Aye.
Scott Peters, Dakota County.
Aye.
Dan Patterson, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Bridget Reef, MAC. Patrick Boylan, Community Development. David Burns, MTS.
Aye.
Patrick Haney, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Ethan Foley, Minneapolis.
Aye.
Gina Mitico, MnDOT.
Aye.
Lauren Dickerson, MPCA.
Aye.
Kevin Roggenbuck, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Anton Jervy, City of St. Paul.
Aye.
Craig Jensen, Scott County.
Aye.
Sunita Kasishwa, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Elaine Katsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Sarah Allen, Washington County.
Aye.
And Chris Hartzell, Woodbury. Chair, there were 15 ayes, no noes, and no abstentions.
Thanks, Jed. And thanks, Steve. The next item on the agenda is a functional classification change request submitted by the City of St. Paul for Hamlin Avenue. And again, we have a background paper, no formal presentation, but Jed or Dave, is somebody going to walk us through this one?
Yes, I'll be walking you through this one.
Thanks.
David Burns, planning analyst here with the council, in sort of a different flavor, but a similar vein of what Steve just brought you through in that action item. Back in December of 2025, we requested any potential functional class changes that would result in a upgrade to a minor arterial or principal arterial in preparation for the 2026 regional solicitation. So we presented upon that, explained the process in December of last year, and then followed it up with a Gov delivery shortly thereafter. We did receive one change request. It is from the City of St. Paul, and it is for Hamlin Avenue from University Avenue to the north to Grand Avenue in the south. And Jed, do you just want me to share my screen for a second and
Go for it.
okay, great. Great. So the change request is right here, Hamlin Avenue, north-south. It's approximately 1 mile on the north end. It is connecting to a minor arterial minor arterial reliever, and on the south in Grand Avenue is a minor arterial augmenter. Really, this serves as a link not only to kind of fill in that gap, but it hits really all of the criteria for minor arterials. It is currently a major collector. It does provide connections to regional destination or employment. Obviously, right here with Allianz Field and all the redevelopment happening, there's significant growth opportunity that the city of St. Paul wants to make sure that they are properly accommodating. In terms of spacing, it is greater than 1/2 mile between Lexington Avenue and Snelling, which are both also parallel minor arterials. So the spacing guidelines are well within the guidelines that we have established and have in our functional class process, which is articulated within our transportation policy plan. Again, it kind of connects to existing minor arterials, University Avenue and Grand Avenue. And additionally, it serves as sort of a missing regional connection or a link in conjunction with Aid Mill Road between I-35E and I-94. A lot of individuals take Aid Mill Road and Hamlin to connect to 94 there from 35E. So lots of justification for why this makes a lot of sense as a minor arterial augmenter. And it really meets the mobility land access guidelines that we've established. And ADT or volumes range from approximately 8,000 here on the southern end to greater than 16 or 15,000, approaching 16,000 as you approach University Avenue. So again, this meets all the criteria. It really functions as a augmenter, a minor arterial augmenter. In our sort of staff analysis, we did coordinate with MnDOT on this. They are in full support. As a reminder, the MPO is like not a liaison, and we make a decision to recommend to MnDOT, and MnDOT also has to agree and coordinate on that, which has been done. With that, I will open it up for any questions that anyone might have.
Thanks, David. Does anyone have any questions about the item? Okay, not seeing anyone or any questions. Yeah, and we do have St. Paul staff here. I don't know if there's anything more to say, but if not, we can ask for a motion to approve. Oh,
I'll make the motion. Elaine.
Okay. Thanks, Elaine. I saw your light, but I didn't hear anything.
I sneezed.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have a motion from Elaine. Do we have a second?
This is Anton. Second.
Okay, thanks, Anton. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, no one's jumping, so I'll turn it over to Jed then to take the roll again.
Jorge Bernal, Anoka County. Mark Culver, Brooklyn Park. Drew Flommer, Carver County.
Aye.
Excuse me, Justin Broman. Thank you. Charlie Howley, Chanhassen.
Aye.
Scott Peters, Dakota County.
Aye.
Dan Patterson, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Bridget Reef, Mac. Patrick Boylan, Community Development. David Burns, MTS.
Aye.
Patrick Haney, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Ethan Foley, Minneapolis.
Aye.
Gina Minico, MnDOT.
Aye.
Lauren Dickerson, MPCA.
Aye.
Kevin Roggenbuck, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Anton Jervy, City of St. Paul.
Aye.
Craig Jensen, Scott County.
Aye.
Sunita Kasishwa, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Elaine Kutsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Sarah Allen, Washington County.
Aye.
And Chris Hartzell, Woodbury. Chair, there were 15 ayes, no noes, and no abstentions.
Thanks, Chad. So that takes care of our business items. Today, we have a couple of information items.
We have one more.
Oh, we do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we do. I'm sorry. Thank you,
Yeah,
Chad.
yeah, Chair. Sorry about that. Actually, this was very simple. This is with that was the only change that was requested in preparation, or functional class change that was requested in preparation for the 2026 regional solicitation. So since that change now has been recommended for approval by TAC, we are asking for that change to be reflected in the regional map, and for the regional map, functional classification map, to be adopted for use in the 2026 regional solicitation.
All right, thank you. So that map shows Hamlin Avenue then at what we just voted on. Correct?
This map does not currently show Hamlin Avenue. It would be updated.
It would be updated to show that. Okay.
Correct.
I couldn't zoom in enough to see.
Yep.
Okay, inclusive of that. Okay, sorry. Obviously didn't read this one ahead of time. So we have a recommended motion, which would be to, or the recommended motion from staff would be to adopt this and make the modified change, or the modification that we just approved, correct?
Correct, Chair. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right, does anyone want to make a motion?
You'll make a
This is
motion.
Anton.
Okay, I think Charlie was first, so we got Charlie making the motion. Anton?
I'll
You want a
second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, go ahead, Jed, thanks.
Jorge Bernal, Anoka County. Mark Culver, Brooklyn Park. Justin Broman, Carver County.
Aye.
Charlie Howley, Chanhassen.
Aye.
Scott Peters, Dakota County.
Aye.
Dan Patterson, Hennepin County.
Aye.
Bridget Reef, Mac. Patrick Boylan, Community Development. David Burns, MTS.
Aye.
Patrick Haney, Metro Transit.
Aye.
Ethan Foley, Minneapolis.
Aye.
Gina Minico, MnDOT.
Aye.
Lauren Dickerson, MPCA.
Aye.
Kevin Roggenbuck, Ramsey County.
Aye.
Anton Jervy, City of St. Paul.
Aye.
Craig Jensen, Scott County.
Aye.
Sunita Kasishwa, Suburban Transit.
Aye.
Elaine Kutsukos, Tab Coordinator.
Aye.
Sarah Allen, Washington County.
Aye.
And Chris Hartzell, Woodbury. Chair, there were 15 ayes, no nos, and no abstentions, and that's the last roll call.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. So now we are on to our information items. And the first one is an update on the Metro Bronze line. Is Craig here or Liz?
am, Madam Chair.
Okay. I don't see you, but let me, there's too many people on my screen. Okay, there you are. Okay, so we have Craig Lamoth from Metro Transit. And Craig, are you presenting alone? I see Liz and Stephen on the agenda too. Are you all three here or just?
I have Stephen here. Liz unfortunately was not able to make it today.
Okay, well, I will turn it over to you and yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee members, so we're going to give an update on the Metro Bronze Line, or more of an informational update preceding what will come later, which is an amendment to the TPP that'll be coming after this. So I am going to share my screen. I will note for the body, and we can work with Jed after this meeting. So you will see in these slides a few slides that are slightly different than what was included in your packet. We had to embargo some late-breaking information regarding the project, and you will actually be the first to see it publicly, and it will be shared with others later today. So last week when the agenda was posted, it was not yet ready for consumption. And we will call out those changes on the slides when we get to those. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Craig Lamoth. I am the Council's project manager for Metro Bronze Line. I have with me here today Stephen Smith. He is the county's project manager on Metro Bronze Line. And you'll maybe asking why two project managers, and hopefully that'll be evident as we go through the slide presentation. So what we're going to cover here today, here in the next 30 minutes, a little bit on the project history, focusing in on the original LPA, and then the TPP, as well as the new locally preferred alternative and related CMC actions, talk a little bit about the process, which this committee meeting here today is part of. Then we'll overview the Metro Bronze Line project, particularly how it's different than its predecessor Purple Line project, talk about a very unique capital funding and delivery approach that has no precedent in this region. Be done for the first time with this project, and then talk about public outreach and next steps. So I've got the first few slides, then I'll turn it over to Stephen, and then I will conclude with the last handful of slides at the end. So a little bit about the project history. The original LPA, which is still the LPA of record, back in May of 2017, the Policy Advisory Committee recommended an alignment that was about 15 miles long that was heavily co-located with the Bruce Vento Trail in the former freight rail corridor owned by Ramsey County, and it went all the way to downtown White Bear Lake. That LPA was added to the TPP in the 2018 update. That project at that time was $480 million and planned to be open in this year. And specifically, the language of that is found here on the slide as well. So the council took over leadership for the project in 2021 when it was known as Rush Line. And quickly we rebranded it into Purple Line. And that was the alignment that represented the LPA. We got into engineering early in 2022. And then quickly had to make some adjustments or starting making some adjustments. And the first one was to truncate the alignment to be shorter and fall outside of White Bear Lake. We ended up concluding in 2023 that the best endpoint would be Maplewood Mall Transit Center, but that project still was co-located with the Bruce Vento Trail between Maryland and Beam Avenue in the former freight rail corridor. We were then later asked to look at an alternative corridor north of Maryland. We spent a lot of time studying Maryland and White Bear Avenue as a potential alternative, and that's where we landed at the end of last year. And so in December, the Corridor Management Committee for the Purple Line approved a series of actions. First, to recommend the Metro Bronze Line alignments as the revised locally preferred alternative for the project formerly known as Purple Line. It also recommended that the cities of St. Paul and Maplewood and Ramsey County all adopt resolutions of support for this revised LPA, and then also asked the Met Council to amend the revised LPA into the region's long-range transportation plan. So we can report that we have received a resolution of support from the city of St. Paul for the Bronze Line as of last Wednesday. We're expecting the County Regional Railroad Authority to take that action on Tuesday, and then the City Council of Maplewood to take that action up at their next meeting on the 23rd of March. So by the end of March, we expect to have all resolutions of support necessary to advance the revised LPA forward for Bronze Line. We've already met with the Transit Planning Technical Working Group in January. Last week, we met with the TAC, and we're here today before this group, and we are expected to be before the Transportation Advisory Board at their meeting next week.
Please check the number and dial again.
So, as I noted, we had to step back and do a lot of planning rather than engineering early on after we took the project over from the county. We did extensive efforts. This one slide here is an attempt to capture a vast majority of those efforts that occurred in 22, 23, and 24. We met with over 6,000 residents in the corridor. We typically took the approach of going to where people already are. We didn't hold all that many open houses, but really had pop-ups and other mechanisms, including some new things like Hello Lampposts, as well as meeting with key stakeholders like the district councils and the business associations in the group, and also working very closely with folks like Councilmember Yang in St. Paul and others. So the Metro Bronze Line, different than the Purple Line, it generally speaking is the same project south of Maryland Avenue and north of Maryland Avenue. It really represents the alternative corridor that we looked at for the last couple of years, which would be along Maryland Avenue and on White Bear Avenue north of Maryland all the way to Beam. And this is a reimagined and community responsive version of the former project. This project focuses on transit reliability through bus lanes and transit signal priority, as well as enhanced safety along key corridors. And you'll hear more from Stephen about portions of the corridor that will see significant reconstruction to provide not just transit, but also safety benefits. This route's approximately 10 miles long from Union Depot in St. Paul all the way to Maplewood Mall Transit Center. It'll have 22 stations, 17 of which will be new. The first station to be built as part of Bronze Line will be the 14th Street Station. Everything south and in downtown have already been built by Gold Line, B Line, or will be built by G Line this summer. Includes 5 miles of bus lanes in St. Paul, and then also 2 new bridges. So Bronze Line is a critical part of the metro system that we've been working on over the past many years, and will be continuing to do so as we add more lines to this high frequency network. But the key thing to note, if Bronze Line had not moved forward, there would have been an obvious gap in the Northeast Metro connecting that portion of the metro area to this high frequency network. The Rush Line prior to Purple Line, and then Purple Line itself, has always had very strong metrics warranting this level of transit investment in this portion of the metro, represented here on the slide. These metrics have actually gotten stronger with the shift to the White Bear Avenue corridor versus being co-located with the Bruce Vento Trail between Maryland and Beam Avenue. There are a lot of populations for which transit is important, and there are a lot of places to be connected to within this corridor. So one thing to note, while this project has maybe moved away from the way it was originally looking as the Purple Line and Rush Line, where it probably looked more like the Gold Line project with about 70% dedicated guideway, we're now down to around 50% dedicated guideway. And there'll be elements where parts of this corridor may look more like what you would see along an arterial BRT line where there may be just simply stations being implemented. But the key piece here is that all of the stations from end to end will look more like the Gold Line stations. These will be more dedicated BRT stations with 9-inch platforms and more significant shelters, and carrying all of the various different amenities that are important. Facility improvements that are being brought forward by this line are probably one of the most important features of this investment. Because now that this investment is going to be partially running on Maryland and White Bear, essentially replacing the Route 54, that will, by the end of next year, become the Route 58, and have service improvements made as part of that number transition. So the service improvements will be more nominal from the 58 to the Bronze Line, but the facility improvement will be significant. Today, the corridor is absent any significant facilities. Most of the 54 stops today are simply bus stop signs on a pole, and there are 1 or 2 shelters out there along the corridor. By bringing this level of facility investment means that there'll be daily cleanings. It'll have the highest priority for snow removal, which will be important for times like this coming weekend. And so this will be consistent from end to end, regardless of the operating environment that the bus may be in the corridor. Turn it over to my colleague, Stephen, now to cover the next series of slides.
Thank you, Craig. My name is Stephen Smith. I am the project manager for Ramsey County for the Metro Bronze Line. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the project elements related to the alignments, starting off south at Union Depot. As Craig mentioned, a lot of the alignment, or a lot of the stations in downtown has been completed by others. Like he said, G Line, B Line, Gold Line. Our first station starts at 14th. I will note that as you're kind of looking at this south of Maryland, is that we have different sections at different percentage of design. This section is about 30%, is at 30% design right now, and then our Maryland and White Bear section is about 1% design. So as Craig kind of noted, when we kind of moved towards Maryland and White Bear, we got to a certain level of design, but certain areas of the alignment was already at a mature level. Like I said, south of Maryland at 30% design. We have 2 new bridges, and I will end up showing you what those bridges look like too as well. And just for a little bit of kind of the legend that you're seeing with exclusive bus lanes and side running bus lanes, we have our side running bus lanes, which are in-street bus lanes on the outside that you can see in blue, that kind of goes around the bronze coloring. And then we have segments where you can kind of see that it has that kind of black outline. That's where we have dedicated right away. That is for exclusively for the bus only. And that's where we're co-located with the Bruce Winchell Trail in that area too as well. You can go to the next slide. So in terms of Pennsylvania Avenue, this is a project where Ramsey County, during the time when we're still trying to figure out where our endpoint would end up being, Ramsey County identified a need to reconstruct this area of Pennsylvania, which happens to overlap where Bronze Line is actually running. And you kind of heard me mention earlier, we have some semi or side running bus lanes in this area too as well. So we're already looking to construct in this area. One of the things that kind of works out really well as Metro Transit, or as Ramsey County is studying this area, they're going to be able to take it to 30% design, and then we can actually incorporate that 30% design and take it to all the way to 100% as part of the Bronze Line, since this was already overlapping our area that we're planning to operate in anyway. So this kind of lines up really nicely in terms of timing when they're planning to be complete with the study and when we can actually take on 30% to take it to 100% design. So this is something that is going to be incorporated into the Bronze Line. So next is our first bridge. So you're seeing the Arcade Street Station Bridge. You can see that in pink up at top. One of the things that we're doing here is we worked with the community to establish kind of where this platform should be. And we brought it up to Arcade at night. So then the station is at grade with night. And then one of the things that we wanted to do is help with illustration of what this bridge looks like, because obviously seeing it 2D is one thing, but seeing it 3D is another. So we wanted to create that, and this is what it looks like in 3D. So now you can really kind of get a sense of how, in terms of where this is located, it's getting as close as we can to Arcade at night, which that's what the community expressed in terms of this bridge too, as well as we're trying to leave room for working with Walk on Teepee as well because of the Phelan Daylighting Creek project. So we're leaving space to allow for that work to occur too as well in the future someday. Go to the next slide. So our next bridge is the Johnson Parkway Bridge. This is a bridge that's been part of the project of record, and we're still moving forward with this bridge. You can see in pink, this is the exclusive guideway area that I was talking about, where we're co-locating it with the Bruce Wintle Trail. So shifting the Bruce Wintle Trail, having a exclusive guideway for the buses, and then having a bridge to be able to take us to Maryland Avenue. You can go to the next slide, Craig. So one of the things is that, again, a rendering that kind of shows what it looks like. This is an old rendering. We will plan to update this rendering because one of the things that the community expressed too as well is that having a pedestrian feature onto this bridge would be helpful. And that's one of the things that we agreed to do. But this rendering is a little bit outdated and it doesn't show that, but eventually we will update it to show that pedestrian feature. So now we're getting into that area where you kind of heard me talk about 1% design. So we're at 1% design in this area. We have 5 stations on Maryland and White Bear. And one of the things that we're looking to do is obviously take this to a full reconstruction. Ramsey County, and a lot of the facilities that I've been talking about is actually Ramsey County facilities. So Pennsylvania is a Ramsey County facility, Maryland's a Ramsey County facility, and White Bear Avenue is a Ramsey County facility too as well. And so with that, we have a lot of priorities as well as the transit priority too as well. So we're looking at this area as a full roadway reconstruction all the way to back a sidewalk. And one of the reasons for this is that outside of just the transit priority piece, we also know that there's been concerns about safety in this area. We heard from the community saying that Maryland and White Bear, it just feels really fast. How can you solve for that? Can you provide pedestrian refuges? So outside of just the transit element, we're looking at this as we also need to make this a pedestrian friendly environment and also take care of some of the safety concerns that the community has identified too as well. Go to the next slide. So here's another visualization of that. So now you can kind of see existing condition with 2 lanes in each direction. So what we're proposing is basically outside transit lanes with a single lane in each direction and still providing those adequate turn lanes when necessary at the signal too as well. So this is a good improvement, and then also providing those pedestrian refuges too as well. Recognizing that we also have some work to do related to the curb cuts where we have rights in and right outs related to our transit way too as well. So we recognize that there's some work ahead of us too, making sure that we have good access for people to be getting in and out of their home or in and out of a business too. So go to the next slide. So now we have our Maplewood area. So in Maplewood, there's going to be no reconfiguration of the roadway. Buses will be driving in mixed traffic. One of the changes here is actually what's highlighted. It's the pavement replacement. That's something that Craig was mentioning that was kind of embargoed. Reason for that is because we wanted to work with all our partners to figure out what does this look like. Something that Ramsey County has identified is that in the Maplewood segment between Frost and Beam, the pavement is in really, really poor condition right now. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is put a mill and overlay on it right now, do some investigation work of the roadway bed, knowing that the mill and overlay is only more of a Band-Aid, but the project, because the timing lines up really well with how long we know the pavement will last, we need to do a full pavement replacement. And so this doesn't change the geometry. It's really between curb to curb. But the major thing is that we identified this need to be able to do a full pavement replacement. And so what we're doing is incorporating that into the bronze line because it lines up so well in terms of schedule. Related to the platforms, so basically, the pavement replacement would really stay between curb to curb. And then in terms of stations enhancements, Craig kind of showed you an image of what our typical station would look like. But in this area, this is where it's really more station focused in terms of the transit project too as well. And then looking at the four corners as well in terms of ADA. Next slide. And then we have our northern terminus, which is our Maplewood Transit Center. There's going to be some slight improvements that's going to be made at the Maplewood Transit Center too as well. And also knowing that in terms of Metro Micro, we know that service is coming in the near term here too as well. And then there's been service improvements as part of Network Now in terms of the 219 and 223 that both goes to the Maplewood Transit Center too as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about funding. You kind of heard Craig talk about this. So this is a project that is 100% locally funded. A little bit that is different that Craig also noted is in terms of our overall cost, we were estimating previously about $375 million roughly, but now that number is a little bit higher than 375. I don't have the exact number yet. But what makes that a little bit different is the pavement replacement that we talked about in Maplewood. So Ramsey County is prior to that was really just focused on providing all the costs associated to everything in St. Paul. Metro Transit agreed to provide the funding towards everything that's in Maplewood, but now the exception is that the pavement replacement will be funded by Ramsey County. And then all the project costs outside of that in Maplewood would be provided by Metro Transit. In terms of our contracting approach, I think you heard me talk a little bit about how a lot of this is a little different because we're using a lot of Ramsey County facilities. And so one of the things that we wanted to do that's a little bit different is that recognizing that the council in the interest of the transit stations, the two bridges that are really exclusive to the bus, and then the exclusive guideway that is on Bruce Central Trail, and the station improvements too as well. That made a lot of sense to break that out into a council design contract. And then we have a county design contract that's really focused on the things you heard me talk about with Pennsylvania, Maryland, White Bear, and now with this, including the pavement replacement and Maplewood too as well. The third contract that we're also initiating too as well is the Strategic Communications and Public Outreach and Engagement and Community Relations contract. I know that's a really long word, long term for the contract, but really what this is really meant to say is that we recognize that engagement is really, really important to the project. One of the things that we wanted to do is not have two different engagement contracts. We're still one project. Actually, Craig is just down the hall from me right now. We sit in the Metro Square building and we work on this together. And so we still want to be, in terms of the community, we want to make sure that we are still looking like we are doing this together because we are doing this together and that we have a united voice. And so this third contract really allows us to, when we go out to do open houses, when we're engaging the community, we're really engaging the community as one project. And so that was really important to us too as well. And then in terms of the package, we're going to end up pulling this all together as one single construction package. And so that's our goal related to getting to bid docs. Go to the next slide. And I think you're covering the next slide, right, Craig?
I've got the next one. I'll take it back from you, the baton. All right. So recognizing we're doing this project differently, as you just heard Stephen talk a lot about that in his slides, we sunsetted all of our project committees in December. We're in the process of resurrecting the right project committee framework, and we'll have that implemented by mid to late summer to coincide with bringing new consultant teams on board through those 3 contracts that Stephen just talked about. But they will likely look different than what has been done on Rush and Purple before it, and on some of the other projects like Gold Line. So I'm going to do my best to fill in for Liz. She does a much better job than I will on these slides, but I want to talk a little bit about the public outreach, which is important for supporting the action that this body will make a recommendation on in terms of the amendment to the TPP. So the new Bronze Line project really is a project that hasn't had this level of support by the key stakeholders, the 2 municipalities, the county and the council, in a long time. We feel that the project is on its firmest foundation that it has been on in quite a while. We've got a lot of support from the community as well. It's not to say there aren't some detractors out there, but we've been working differently already in advance of having that 3rd contract, really strengthening relationships with key stakeholder groups, so that we're not just engaging with them when we want something from them, but really building a long-term relationship to help deliver the overall project. You may have noticed in early December, there was a large event at Union Depot that really rebranded the project from Purple Line to Bronze Line. Then we spent the month of December and January really talking to all of our key stakeholders with the rebranded project, letting them know the project was moving forward. We also did blanket communication to let folks know that there was indeed a BRT project that was going to be advanced. As noted in that postcard mailer radius, basically a half mile on either side of the corridor, we mailed every business and every resident within the corridor to let them know. So while we are not doing active engagement right now, as we are re-procuring consultant contracts, we still are providing opportunity for the public to provide us comment on the project, including through our website and mailers. Which will be part of what will be part of you'll see in the amendment that will be brought forward in your next cycle or two, is a reference to the engagement that supports the project moving forward in its current form. That can be found on our website and captured in this document here. That really spans the September to December timeframe, which was really bringing forward a project that could be implemented in this corridor. Next steps. So right now, covered a lot of this. We're focused on getting those resolutions of support from the 3 partners, then processing a TPP amendment. We are also, because this is being funded 100% locally, very different than its predecessor project. As noted by Stephen, we are working on a funding agreement with the county that captures both funding from the council and the county together. And we just put out last week, the county issued their design RFP, and so did the council. Proposals are due at the end of April. We hope to have those teams on board, as well as that 3rd contract sometime between July and September for all 3. And once we have all those resources back on board, we will be jumping directly into advancing the design of the project. We also need to environmentally clear the project. This project, while the southern 5 miles looks very similar to the old Rush line, the north 5 miles is very different. So we have to do a completely new environmental process. That'll take about a year. We expect design to be completed sometime in 2029, be out for construction in 2030, 31, and 32. The heaviest construction will be driven on those roadways reconstruction segments on Maryland and White Bear. There's a lot of sensitivity to ensuring that this transit investment benefits not only the future, but also those that are out there today. So taking great care in ensuring that we are doing everything we can to mitigate impacts to businesses and residents while construction is happening. And so we do expect this to be spread over 3 years versus being crammed into 2 years. One of the open questions on this project remains the bus propulsion type. Could be fully electric, could be fully diesel, could be hybrid. That's a decision that doesn't necessarily need to be made until 2028. Hopefully after a couple more years of experience of alternative fuel vehicles under our belts. New senior leadership team, really a blend of county staff and council staff. So you got Stephen and I here today, but Morgan Abbott and Eden Haig are leading the design efforts for the respective contracts. And as you heard from Stephen about that third contract, Liz Jones will be running point on that. And that way there's one face to the project externally with our project stakeholders and partners. We've got all new website, all new email address, and ways to get in touch with us. With that, Madam Chair, I turn it back to you if there are any questions from the committee.
All right, thanks, Craig and Stephen. Worked on this project in previous iterations, so it's good to see where it has come since then. Do any committee members have questions or comments? Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Curious question. This is a pretty sizable project. And you mentioned it's all 100% locally funded. Why is that? Why are you not looking for the, federal money or what have you to support this project?
Stephen, you want to take that or you want me to take that?
I mean, we can both take it. Really, in terms of the project and the size and the scope and scale of this, we always find it a little tricky to try to fit within a federal application like the box that you have to fit within. And from a Ramsey County perspective, there's the public need that doesn't always match up really well with what FTA would require for you to fit within. And so in terms of just kind of also the environment that we're in right now, in terms of the FTA and just the federal government, the county felt very comfortable with proceeding with this project as the way that we defined it with our project partners. That doesn't necessarily always fit within the box of what FTA will, how you would be able to receive funding, what box you would have to fit in order to receive that funding.
And a follow-up question to that. You mentioned it's on firm ground, you've got a lot of support with the cities and the county and that, but you mentioned there are still, some opposition. I guess I'm just curious, is it like the businesses along the route that are against it? Who's your major opposition that's being loud?
I don't know that we've got loud opposition, but you're never going to make everyone happy with a project like this, with the delivery of the project. I'll give one example. We picked up new folks that might be detractors of the project because of the alignment that we shifted to on White Bear and Maryland Avenue. You heard me talk about need to be sensitive to construction, to businesses. You heard a little bit of that from Stephen as well. White Bear Avenue has a mix of businesses on there. Some of them are very auto-oriented, drive-through, car wash, so all about vehicle volume. And as you saw in the images that Stephen shared, we are proposing on both White Bear and Maryland Avenue to reduce one lane in each direction from general purpose. So those volumes of traffic, some's going to stay within the corridor, some's going to shift. And for some businesses, loss of any volume of cars hurts their business bottom line. So those folks may not be necessarily that thrilled with what we're proposing out here as part of this project, as an example.
Understood. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Good questions. Anyone else? just curious, what are the volumes on white bear? Do you know? Just, I suppose it varies, but was it like a pretty tough decision to go with the reduced cross section, or was it pretty clear that it would be workable?
Well, part of our study previously involved doing some traffic analysis too as well, and trying to understand those conditions. And what we found is that through the traffic analysis that all the intersections will still operate at acceptable levels with reducing it down to a single lane. And we had to work through making sure that we're providing adequate turn lanes too as well at the right intersections. So we don't really see huge traffic impacts up and down the corridor. The volumes, I think, Maryland, if I had to think off the top of my head, is somewhere around 15,000 ADT. And I think White Bear is somewhere around that too as well, a little bit higher.
White Bear tends to be the highest in the area where we're not doing the conversion. So up near Highway 36, you got volumes that are a little bit higher than what you would see south of Larpenteur and St. Paul.
Thanks. Other questions or thoughts? All right. Thank you guys for coming and giving us an update.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. And Jed, I will get you this version of the PowerPoint if you want to get that out to the committee.
Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate being the first to hear some of the updates. All right, our next information item is on the 2026 UPWP, Unified Planning Work Program. We have Frank and Bethany here to present on that.
You chair, and I'll just pull up my slides.
Yep, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. My name is Frank Alarcon. I'm a manager of multimodal transportation planning here at the Met Council. Just started in this role about 2 months ago. I moved over from Metro Transit. As I go through this 2026 UPWP update, feel free to interject with any questions. Because of how new I am to my team, if you have specific questions about any of the studies I mentioned, I probably won't have the answers off the top of my head, but plenty of my colleagues at MTS are on this call and can jump in with their expertise as needed. So some of the content I'll be sharing today include updates about studies that are in the current 2026 UPWP. Then we'll look ahead, as the UPWP is an annual document, we'll look ahead to the process for creating the 2027 UPWP. I know this committee is generally very familiar with the UPWP, but in case you need a refresher or new to this work, the UPWP is the Unified Planning Work Program. It is the annual plan of federally funded and council-involved transportation planning activities. So if you open the UPWP document, which is on the Met Council website, you'll see descriptions of the studies that we're leading and that we're involved in, along with budget information. The UPWP, in addition to aggregating all that information and kind of very transparently showing our planning work plan for each year, it also serves as our application to the federal government for planning funds. And so at the end of the process, once we've created a UPWP, we submit it to the FHWA in order to receive our consolidated planning funds for the year. I should also mention that there's a companion document to the UPWP called the Regional Transportation Planning Work Program that's very similar in nature. It just focuses on transportation planning studies and activities that are purely regional funding and don't include federal dollars. So throughout this presentation, I'll be distinguishing between federally funded transportation planning activities and regionally funded ones. So today's goal, I'll be providing just some quick updates about the studies that are listed in the 2026 UPWP. And then I'll kind of pivot over to looking ahead to the 2027 UPWP process. And at the end, I'll facilitate a discussion about any ideas that any of you committee members might have about new studies that potentially could be added to the UPWP in 2027. Just to manage expectations a little bit, from a budget and staffing perspective, there's not a ton of capacity on our team to add new studies to the 2027 UPWP. We think, kind of depending on the size of studies and some other moving parts, we think there's capacity for an additional 1 to 3 studies in the 2027 UPWP beyond all the work that I'm about to describe on the following slides. So without further ado, here's some updates about 2026 UPWP updates. And I should mention that I'm not going to provide a ton of information about any individual studies, but at the end of this presentation for reference, there are more detailed descriptions of each study. So I'm not going to present those today, but they are in the PDF and part of the meeting packet, and you're welcome to peruse those to get more information about any of these studies. So this slide shows the 10 studies in the UPWP, in the 2026 UPWP that started prior to 2026. So I'm just going to provide a couple highlights about a few of these, some updates. So on the left-hand column there, there's the Metropolitan Highway System Harms Impact and Mitigation Priorities Study. So just for your awareness, a recent update is that due to the federal enforcement activity happening early this year, work on the qualitative aspect of this study had to be paused because it just wasn't tenable during that activity. So the plan is to restart that work in early April and aim to finish that highway harm study by the end of 2027. So thus far, that study has completed the historical timeline, the harms category identification, and much of the quantitative work, but it needs that qualitative work that will resume in April. In the middle column there, I'll highlight the Outreach and Engagement for Transportation Studies Master Contract. Just wanted to make sure that folks are aware that this resource exists. And basically what it is a master contract through which that's available to support any of the other activities and studies in the UPWP. So we can contract with a handful of different firms that focus on engagement and outreach to help support any of our other work. On the right-hand column, these are the regionally funded studies that don't have federal dollars in them. Just wanted to highlight a recent update about the Midtown Greenway bicycle and pedestrian trail expansion planning project. So that that project has been underway for a while, and at this point there is a draft final report that's circulating with the technical committee for review. It will be finalized pretty soon, and at that time it will be shared with TAC planning. So there's just a few highlights from these ongoing studies. Does anyone have any questions about any of these 10 studies before I move on to studies that are starting in 2026? All right. Moving ahead, so this slide lists the studies that are federally funded in the UPWP and will be starting this year, or perhaps have already started this year. So I'll just give a little bit of information about each. So the Community Assessment and Engagement Guide will provide guidance on identifying and defining community and demographics and characteristics. The Managed Lane Vision and System Study Phase 4 will identify priority areas for future Easy Pass lane investments. The Integrating TDM into Highway Planning Processes will do exactly what the name suggests. It'll build on regional policy to integrate travel demand management considerations into highway project development. The Existing Freeway Interchange Improvement and Modernization Study will help prioritize improvements to existing interchanges in the region. The Safer Connections to Transit study will focus on the relationship between pedestrian safety and transit and roadway system design and propose some ways to improve outcomes. The Complete Streets Local Implementation Guide, this committee heard a presentation last month from Jed on that, so I won't provide more information than Jed already did. The 2050 Comprehensive Plan Update Tools and Guides. So we all probably know the comprehensive planning cycle is nearly upon us. So this will be a resource with tools and guides from a transportation perspective for that process. And most of that work is kind of in the federally funded category. You're going to see the same study on my next slide about regional studies, and that's because some of the work in this resource is not eligible for federal dollars. So some of the climate and equity work, we've placed that in kind of a companion regional study so that we can do that work. For travel model updates, there's kind of a handful of activities happening under that umbrella. So there's 3 different consultant projects, all aimed toward improving the base data that underlines the travel demand models that we use and put us in a better position for future improvements. So one of these travel model update studies will look at highway speeds and the relationship of speeds to congestion in the travel model. A second study will make improvements to Network Wrangler, which is a software that we use to manage networks and models in the scenario. And a third study will develop a plan for improvements of our freight modeling. And then lastly, RBTN Rural Connections. So the RBTN is the rural or the Regional Bicycle Transportation Network. The Rural Connections Project will look at how to expand the RBTN into the rural areas of the metro area, which are currently not covered by the RBTN. So before I move on to regional studies that are starting this year, does anyone have questions about this list of federally funded studies? All right, I'll move along to the regional ones. So we have a couple of regionally funded studies related to vehicle electrification to fill gaps in our knowledge of kind of public awareness of these resources, and also to provide technical assistance to cities that are interested in advancing vehicle electrification. We have a regional travel demand management program, naming and branding plan that is going to be developed to improve the visibility of our TDM resources in the region. And we're also working on some workshops surrounding the community considerations component of the regional solicitation to raise awareness about that topic. So with that, I'm going to shift over to looking ahead to the 2027 UPWP. As I mentioned, the UPWP is an annual document, so we go through a process every year that looks something like this to develop this document and ultimately submit it to MnDOT and the FHWA. So we're here in spring of 2026, starting to gather input on planning study needs and topics that might be added to the UPWP. Later this spring, Met Council will begin to draft the document. During the summer, there will be reviews of the draft document by TAC Planning, as well as by agencies and the public. Later in the summer, the document will go before TAC and TAB, and then ultimately Transportation Committee and the full Met Council for adoption ahead of being in the fall or potentially late summer, being sent to MnDOT and FHWA. And there is a bit of float in the schedule. If things slip about a month or so, that should still be okay. Any questions about this process? It's pretty similar to the process that led to the 2026 UPWP. Right, seeing none. This is my last slide here. Just looking to start a conversation with this committee about any ideas you might have for new studies to add to the 2027 UPWP. I am planning to come back to TAC Planning in April And so if you don't have anything off the top of your head and you want to think about it, that's totally fine. But I did just want to start the conversation here. So I've got a few questions on this slide, and I'll ask the first one, and I'm very interested to hear thoughts that committee members might have. So are there any major policy areas of concern or interest for 2027 not addressed in the work that I already described that you think might be good candidates for the 2027 UPWP? Are there any like emerging trends that you would like the Met Council to dig into? Any topics that you think could be better understood regionally within transportation?
Hi, Frank and Madam Chair. This is Kevin with Ramsey County. I think if you're coming back in April, I think it would be good for me, I know, to bring this to my boss and some of my other planning staff and share that with them and have them kind of mull it over for a while and maybe get back to you. Maybe we would come up with a couple of good ideas with a little bit of time to consider it and think about it.
Yes, please do. Thanks, Kevin. Anybody else? Anything on the top of anyone's head? All right, well, I'll be coming back in a month. Look forward to hearing any ideas or suggestions you might have. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Chair.
Thanks, Frank, and I appreciate you bringing it to us early. Like I said, like Kevin said, I will do the same and bring it back. We've got some internal groups to meet on items, and this would be a great thing to bring to them this month, so we can hopefully share some more ideas with you next month. Maybe I have a question. I mean, you kind of pitched it to the group. Are there any topics or items that council staff have identified as potential items that you'd be looking for feedback on, or are you looking more to generate from the committee?
I think, and I'd welcome any of my MTS colleagues to jump in. Some of the ideas I've heard just in some internal brainstorms, or maybe something around resiliency planning. Don't know exactly what that might be, but that's a topic that's come up. Another area where MTS could potentially step in and provide some value is if there are data gaps regionally. We're doing some work on regional sidewalk data gaps. But if there's anything else that agencies really wish existed data-wise regionally but doesn't, that's an area where we could step in with the study. I see Amy went on camera. Amy, were you gonna add anything?
Go ahead, Amy, if you are, it's like you have your hand up now too. I don't see you, but.
Sorry. Apologies for that. One idea, and we're still having discussion among our staff. Some of it is, we have some big projects that are in the TPP, and and they were called for in the work plan over the next few years. One of them is the resiliency plan. So part of it is also us figuring out not just 27, but a little bit into 28 and 29. One area I have some personal thoughts and interest on, and maybe would want to hear back from others. Oftentimes our work focuses on capital investment. And I think there are some trade-offs to be always thought about between operations, spending, and costs, and then versus capital investment. And then there's also, and the highway harm study results hopefully will lead into this a little bit, oftentimes some of the things that we hear from community are related as what they want are related to operations spending, whether it's more frequent cleaning up of garbage, whether it's better landscaping, whether it's, you know, working with the community on art installation. And so this idea kind of how we think about trade-offs between capital and operating spending and what are the interactions. We don't really have a written scope for that yet, but have brought the idea up with MnDOT, and we'll continue to have some conversations along that line. But if counties and cities have some thoughts on needs on those types of trade-offs, we would be interested in that too.
Thanks, Amy. Cole, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to fill in a little more detail on some of the stuff Frank had mentioned. The regional resilience study was in the TPP work program, and I put a link to that in the chat. So that would be another thing that you could all review before the next meeting and see if there's any ones that we haven't already started that you think would be of high priority. You'll notice we've actually started a lot of them, so that's good. But the resilience study was really about both strategies in areas that need more thinking around resiliency, like flood mitigation, things like that. But it was also going to help us prioritize protect funding. And I will say we kind of put it on the back burner because protect is in a little bit of a, we're not sure if it's going to get reauthorized by Congress area. So we still think it's important, but it just didn't rise to the top because of that uncertainty at the federal level. But read that program description in there and see if that speaks to a need that you're all seeing. I also just wanted to mention the regional freight study. That's a study that we've done in collaboration with MnDOT in the past. I think the last one was done in 2013. And it's really meant to dive into some newer freight trends and highlight maybe some policy issues that we need to think through about freight movement in the metro, as high as like long haul freight, but also local issues like parking and last mile connections and delivery. So that's another one that I know has come up as one we might want to work with. We have to continue to scope that out with MnDOT. So those are two that have emerged from the TPP that we've talked about internally. But obviously we're not limited to just the TPP ideas. So we can make sure to share out that link after the meeting too, outside of just the chat.
Thanks, Cole. That is helpful, yes. And this list is pretty long, so there are definitely a lot of ideas there. So it'll be helpful, I think, before the next meeting, folks can take a look through that and see what ideas resonate with them of the ones that haven't been tackled yet. Anyone have any other thoughts or ideas at this point? Okay, we are a quiet group today. I have lost my agenda. Before I say that's the end of our agenda, since I already made one goof, I think that is it. Correct, Jed?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So that concludes our formal agenda. Do any members have other business items worth mentioning to the committee? Okay, hearing none, we can then adjourn this meeting and look through the UPWP materials and come back thinking of ideas to share next time. So thank you everyone for your time and participation today, and we'll see you next month.